to have, it's like an experiment where you have a set of data, you make a model. I'm a scientist. You make a model, you make a prediction. Now you have to go test your prediction, and if that, you have to do the experiment.
Right.
And the experiment is canvassing. You have to prove. So, for example, I'm making up a completely fictitious example. Let's say he says, "Hey, these 7,000 people suddenly were unvoted. Let's go ask them." And you don't have to test all 7,000. You can take a representative sample. We go knock on the doors and say, "Did you vote? Yes." Sign an affidavit that you vote. Yes. Okay. Then he predicted exactly where we found him. That's then when he comes back, he can say, "See, even that though isn't necessarily evidence of fraud. That would be a lost vote."
Okay.
And lost votes, they'll just say they're clerical errors or software errors or something like that. What the votes that you need to find are the ones where it says they voted, but they'll sign an affidavit they didn't. That's the fraud.
We have that.
That's the fraud.
Okay.
You got that.
Go for it.
We have those affidavits. However, we also have affidavits that follow this scenario. I'll show you this one. This one's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, you're doing great. I understand everything you've done so far, and it's right on target.
Well, thank you. Ignore that.
Yeah.
This is one example of vote switching. I'm going to show you two examples. So this is an individual. This happens to be a relative of mine.
Cool.
Who, my daughter's mother-in-law.
Daughter's
My
mother-in-law.
daughter's
Gotcha.
mother-in-law
Gotcha.
lives in Waterford, and she knows how to vote in person. As a matter of fact, she did vote in person for the 2020 election,
Yes.
but she sees that she voted in person.
No, the absentee.
She sees that she voted absentee.
Absentee.
You said in person. Yeah.
Yes, I
did.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I used misspoke. I'm with you. Okay.
Okay, so we actually did a query to see how many people fall into this pattern,
Yes.
and we had over 800,000.
The style of voting is incorrect. Incorrectly recorded.
No.
We don't want to say it that way. because-
800,000 people that consistently voted in person over time in the history of their voting. And they all of a sudden
yeah, but no,
voted
no, that won't work because
absentee.
they'll just say that's COVID.
COVID. That's what we say, but 840 some
No,
thousand?
yeah,
But
that's
if we canvass, we could ask them if it was COVID.
that's what you do.
Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, that's what you do.
Yeah.
When you go and you say and you that's why I'm saying this is great.
Mhm.
This tells you where to canvass. Then you canvass and you talk to 100 of those people and they'll say, "Oh no, I voted in person," just like always.
100
And then
out
you
of
say,
800,000
you see where
is
I'm
going to work. 100 out of
Oh,
840,000
yeah.
is going to
Anybody
be
who
enough.
knows Six Sigma knows that. 400 would be more than it.
Well, thank you. What we have is we didn't know this pattern until just recently. Now we did a query where we can now target our field canvassing
Perfect.
Okay,
So
by
we're on
county,
that.
by county.
by not just county, by
By
jurisdiction,
You're gonna go to the
jurisdiction and
Yeah,
precinct.
yeah,
we
right.
have every single name and address that follows
Set it
this
fine, I'm
pattern.
walking it anyways. Give me the list. I'll
Yeah.
start knocking on those
And
doors.
you don't. And the thing is anybody who does statistics understands. If you have 1 million bottles of Tide and you want to know how many of the labels are bad, how many bottles do you have to check?
I don't know.
So we're-
17.
17 and
And
that's
if you
what,
don't find
cheaper,
one
under
bad label,
2%?
It's Six Sigma.
Okay.
That's the way it works. I mean, that's the way statistics
So
work.
I can ask you, I want jurisdiction, I want Senate 5 district, 5 cities. You could give me that tomorrow and I can start knocking on those doors and have them to you in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
we're
I'm on
already
it.
working on that. Berry County, where there's a current investigation, we have some patriots over there that want to knock on doors. We're going to give them the list of people that fall into this pattern.
Okay.
Okay, now that again though, that's not going to be fraud. That's going to be the records are incorrect and they have to fix the records.
So human error. They're going to blame it on human
Well-
No,
error.
you can't do that. Let me tell you why. Because when you go and you're, no, because an absentee is way different counting than it is over here.
I'm just saying that
So
this record is
You want that?
sorry. This record is not the original source record. This has been this is the product of other accounting, and they can simply say, "Oh yeah, there was an error in process of transferring the information." There
yeah,
was
but
a
checking
software
box
error."
A instead of B is now you're pushing it. I understand But no, when I
No,
go
when
in
you're dealing
and
with
vote,
800,000 especially, then it does sound like a software issue. I mean, if it was 10, you would say it's just somebody checked the right box. But if it's 800,000, you're going to say something's wrong with that software. It didn't transfer that database properly.
so what else do we have to ask for those 800 though? What else do we have to ask who they voted for? I mean,
Well,
what else?
what you can do to get proof
Yeah.
is you have to go to your clerk and say, I need proof that I voted here in person.
Do you guys have paper poll books?
And we have to sign in. You have to sign in.
That's a fact.
electronic
No,
poll
but if you sign on an electronic, now you're screwed.
But we
I'm
have
talking about
some
paper. No, it's paper.
jurisdictions that have paper.
Okay,
We're
well,
copies.
papers.
then you don't even need to go canvas. You can just go subpoena the poll book pages and find out. Okay,
75
and then
I'm
you
on
can
it.
prove it.
Westland.
That would be faster, unless they don't give it to you, which they might. Not.
Well, Westland's the 10th largest city, so that's what I like about Westland. And Richard LeBlanc says he does everything by the book.
I haven't shared something with you guys yet.
Oh my God! What you left? You
already
kept
got this
something
info.
from me, Tim.
He's already got the
After
info.
all we've been going through, you've kept something from me.
What do you got?
And Joanne knows this.
Okay.
Scott Ogney
Yes.
has also been working with the sheriffs on this.
Right.
So what I did is I may have copied you. I don't keep you out of the loop.
Okay.
But we took a poll book, we compared it to the QVF, and we identified all those that don't match the poll book.
Perfect.
Good.
And it's simple. It's that easy. We just need to get the poll book information.
That's where I was going. That's why you don't necessarily need to canvas if you have the poll book.
Okay.
But yet again, that's not fraud.
Okay.
That means that they can just simply say it's a clerical error. It didn't get transferred
They use the
properly.
word incompetence, just so you know. McBroom, that's he likes to use that word incompetence.
And all I'm saying is,
And I don't like
you
that word.
lose the case because they can say that. So, but even if there was nefarious stuff going on, you haven't got the silver bullet that proves nefarious was going on. All you've got is evidence that it doesn't match. I mean, the evidence, prima facie evidence, is what happened in real life is not recorded in the rolls. That's your evidence, right? You don't have evidence that some person deliberately did that. So you don't have, it's like
Well,
you
we have
find a dead
motive and
person on the
intent.
floor, but you don't know how he died. You don't have evidence of murder. You just know you have a dead body. See what I'm saying? There's a
You're
difference.
frustrating me, but we're gonna figure
Okay.
this out.
Let's
Well,
go on with
I
Tim.
know what to do. I'm
Yeah.
just-
give me
He's keeping it from us
I-
until we're
I-
done.
I'm not
Yeah.
keeping
playing
nothing
Clue.
from you.
No,
I'm
No,
just,
we're playing
I'm-
Clue, and
I'm-
we're trying to figure it out before he tells
I'm
us.
reacting. I'm not trying to keep nothing from
No,
you.
no, no. We're
I'm telling you that. I'm just saying that even if, and he is right. Okay, he is right.
Yeah.
Okay, but I was saying even if he is right, and even if you prove in court that they don't match, that's still not fraud.
Okay.
I mean, you could fire somebody for incompetence. There's all kinds of things.
Okay,
We'll
let's,
take
let's,
that
let's
big
go
one.
through the rest of
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and
absolutely,
then you can
absolutely.
reveal
Because
this.
we're getting
I'm
ready
not
into
hiding anything from you.
Yeah,
I'm
you're-
just reacting as we go.
Right, right.
So this is straight queries from the QVF.
Sequel, yeah.
We're showing that this individual out of Wayne, we have all the details, is documented in April as voting in person.
In person, okay.
This is, yes, I
And now
voted absentee.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
It's flipped in 6 months.
yeah, so sometime between April and October,
Yeah.
this individual's history flipped.
And then now it's not even shown anymore.
Well, no, what we mean by that is now it's yes.
It
all-
didn't change.
So
Okay.
so she.
You're only showing the changes, I guess.
I'm only showing the change.
That makes it easier to see. Good idea.
It's easier to see.
I agree.
Right.
I like your good presentation.
So this is kind of interesting for Darren Caldwell. So he switched from April, sometime between April and October, and that was the only switch between those two databases, data sets. So then in October, he actually is listed twice in the history. He has a no vote that switched to yes. He has a yes vote that switched to no. That's why he's listed, as you can see here.
Same voter ID?
Same voter ID through the whole time. So this is showing that now in the history files, based on the way we did our query, he now, from one date to another date to another,
This is the best evidence so far that shows what I was telling you is going on, where they're swapping the database.
There we go.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I see this,
Yeah,
I know this.
and as
He's-
any person who works with data recognizes, that's the problem.
He's on the list 13 times, and that's what I was.
Well, he's on
telling
the list
you.
13 times, not because he is there. He's showing that it keeps changing. He's
what
on the rolls 13 times.
Yeah, let me explain
Okay.
how you're helping me with my talking points. So,
Okay.
basically, what happens here is Darren Caldwell is only listed one time. So, if I
It's
did,
listed one time in every one of these rolls, but what he's showing you is that it changes each month. It shows differently. Am I correct?
yes, mostly.
Okay,
Let me
okay, I'll
explain-
shut up.
Let me add a little more content to it. So he's only in the April, based on the query, comes up as a no to a yes between those 2 dates. Now, based on the query, in October of 2021, he now shows up twice in that database. He's just listed twice. So because they're swapping databases back and forth, they're not clean with their swapping.
They got
So-
caught.
Yeah,
No?
I think so.
That's the wrong conclusion. He said they're not clean with their swapping. That's the right conclusion. In other words, if you're maintaining two lists and your changes out here and then you swap them, now you make changes and you swap back. The problem is an error continues to propagate. The error that you made,
That's what's happening. The error is propagated.
and so it never gets fixed because the two lists never matched perfectly. And so it just keeps going back and forth, and that's exactly what he's showing.
And would that be fraud, Doctor?
No.
All right, let's go on.
Because
Okay.
anybody who works with data knows that you have live dynamic data and you have static data. And sometimes you use static data to do your work. And because if you try to make changes in real time on dynamic data, they run into conflict. Sometimes a field is being changed while you're changing it, and then you correct fields. So usually you work on static data deliberately because that protects you from corrupting real time data. And I know.
So would that be called corruption instead of?
No. Corruption it's what
The
computer
data's
guys
corrupted,
would say.
right.
Yeah, you don't want a field to be corrupted. Let's say that for example, let's say that your name is Jody. So I'm saying I'm typing in, I'm adding you to a database, Jod, and then somebody swaps the database. Okay, well, you're not even in the database, and it's only Jod in that database. And so then the person says, "What's wrong with this? I'm going to enter it again, and then they get it in properly. And then when they swap it back, now it's not right. It's the incorrect entry. And they swap it. Now it is correct, and now it's incorrect, and now it is correct. And so that's why you never want to work on live data, because you can be changing a field while it's updating a field. It's the same way with all your computer files. in a
Okay, so
computer.
these Secretary of States,
That
are
you
they
never
allowed-
make changes to a live database because
Okay, but did they know, these Secretary of States know what you're talking about? They're not
of
data
course
people.
not.
Exactly,
The
so
clerks
is that
have no
fraud?
idea what they're talking about.
No,
The clerks don't have any idea, but does the Secretary of State?
the person that was doing the
Secretary
swapping.
of State doesn't know what they're doing either.
You were explaining to me that really there's a different level of Secretary of State's knowledge or culpability.
But you
Some
just
of the
said
Secretary of
something.
States
You-
are clueless.
Okay, so let me just finish
I
what you
have
were
yet to
saying.
be the Secretary of State that understands data.
That does understand or
But
does
you
not?
were saying that some
Yes.
of these Secretary of States are complicit in what's going on, so they
Well,
had
but-
to know
but they're-
something.
What I was explaining was there are people like your person. What's her name again? Which-
Jocelyn
Benson. There are
Yeah.
people like her who deliberately added 650,000 people before the election who had been legally removed from the rolls. And I would like to hear the phone call that she got that said, "We're not going to have enough to win this election. We want you to add a bunch of people back in." And then when they were caught, and because the Republicans in the legislature said, "Hey, whoa, you're not allowed to do this," and then she cleaned up the rules. She just ran the software that cleans the rules for the people that are federally enacted, which they're allowed to do. People in this 2 federal elections are supposed to be removed, so they go through that. She ended up with a net of 350,000 more people in the rolls who had formerly been legally removed from the rolls, and that's not enough. And so on your election day, since you have same-day registration here, at 11 o'clock at night, suddenly another 155,000 new unique voter IDs appear on the rolls who all vote, because it wasn't enough, but the 650 would have been enough.
If she would have been allowed to.
So that's why I'm saying to you, she's complicit. She's guilty. She did something knowingly because they knew they needed the buffer. They needed the credit line of phantom voters that they used in the elections, or they were going to lose.
Okay, but I want to go back to what you had said earlier. You said that there's this JOD and flipping.
That's normal data manipulation
Right,
stuff.
but here's the thing. And so does she know that?
Of course
Jocelyn?
not.
So, but now that she's been told it, like if I'm Jocelyn, I'd be going, oh my God, I just got caught because I'm not incompetent.
No, because what we're talking about here is not an illegal activity. This is just standard database.
All right.
Database. People who work in databases know this.
Okay.
And that's why he immediately recognized it and immediately knew what it was. Am I right?
You're right.
Yeah.
But let me show you a few other little things. This is in my presentation. It's not in the report.
Okay.
So what this is, notice what's green. These are all Antrim County, actually. Now what you're looking at, we talked about delayed votes added.
Yes.
How many of them were there in Michigan? We had that in our report.
97,000.
Yeah, 97,000. So we now, what I'm showing here is a breakdown of all those individuals. Christina Caramo is one. She's in somewhere in Oakland County, but didn't make this list. We have a Berry County.
Okay.
That precinct's being investigated. And then we look at all these Antrim counties. Now, the thing I want you to see is this is what I call voter ID duplicates. This is clear indication of dual database swapping. So what we're showing here, if you can already see, is that over 17,700, almost 17,700 voters, IDs, were in the QVF. They were removed in January and then added back in April. Mm-hmm. And you can see that pattern. And we have the names of all these people.
Of course.
Over here, we actually have 141 triplicates. So they were removed. They were already in the
QVFs.
Removed, added, and then removed.
And probably more times if you had finer resolution on your QVFs.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just based on.
The only reason you're limited to triplicates because you only have 3 QVFs.
I know.
I'm just.
No, you're right.
Interesting.
No, because we had multiple dates.
Right. I understand. Mm-hmm. That's the worst that they could have done is have 3 differences because you only had 3. If you had 10 data sets, you might have had tenplicates.
Okay. Is that a word?
Declicates. I don't know.
We're making up words and definitions.
But in other words, I think that the reason it's only 3 is because you only have 3. You could have had 10 even because yes, this is beautiful evidence that, well, it confirms what we already know.
Sure.
But it confirms it.
It does.
In Michigan. Hallelujah.
Michigan.
We have to get to Diane's house.
Okay, 5 o'clock. What time is it?
Well, it's 4:30. It's 4:20 right
Okay,
now.
so bottom line is, unless you're going to show me more stuff, basically what you're showing me is the rolls are bad.
Right.
That's that at a minimum, yes.
Okay, but that doesn't prove fraud. That just proves the rolls are bad. Now we have to convert that to fraud.
Okay.
And the way to prove that, way to get fraud, is to find people that will sign affidavits that they didn't vote, but there are ballots that it's recorded that they did. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
We do have
because
those.
that means somebody voted for them. That's fraud. 2,000 mules. You see pieces of paper going into the boxes. Somebody stole their ballot. They swear and are willing to swear in court they didn't vote, but yet there's a ballot being put in for them. That's fraud. You get those, and you only need 100 in Antrim, and you got it.
Okay. Here's a good example. Here's people. These are all made up.
Did you get USPS records?
Nope.
Oh, I was hoping you did.
What do you mean USPS records? What do you mean by that?
If you could get, the USPS tracks every ballot. Every ballot. It's a subscription service, and you can buy it. Politicians buy it all the time, because when the ballots go out from the clerk, they send a chaser postcard. In other words, absentee ballot, vote for me. And then what happens is, if the ballot's returned, they don't want to send a postcard to that address. They save the postage, and they don't want to call that person either. If the ballot's been returned, they don't can't call that person. They don't knock on their door because that's a waste of their time. That vote's already been put in.
I'm getting that list now, running for Senate 5.
See?
Every week I'm getting it. I've got 2 weeks so far.
From the USPS?
Well, no, I'm getting it from, I'm getting it from the city clerk.
You can buy it daily from the USPS subscription service as well.
So you say they.
When I saw this,
like
I
candidates.
thought, oh boy.
Sorry.
But you're saying candidates.
Because that would be awesome for you. That saves you the canvassing. Because then you can say, these people were sent an absentee ballot and returned an absentee ballot, yet it shows as voted in person. And so that would save you the canvassing work. See where I'm going?
Yeah. What he's saying is that if we could get what Jocelyn Benson probably received with all those returned,
Right.
If we get that list, then we could compare that list to whether these people voted.
Yes.
She
That's
claims,
another list. That's a different list. That's a different one that I just talked about.
Oh, okay.
She claims we
No, but
can't
that works
get that
too.
list though. She won't give us that. They
No.
won't give us that list. We FOIA'd for it. and they
Yeah,
won't give it
basically,
to us.
it's basically the bad address list.
It's-
But can I
yeah,
ask you, what
yeah.
about
I'm
this
not talking
year?
about the bad address. I'm talking about the good address.
What about this year though? Because we're trying to do a pilot program just in my district. Should we? I mean, obviously it costs money to buy it from the postal service. Should we be getting it?
It's a subscription service.
But like I said, if we start doing it at least for 2022 in the primary to prove nonsense, is it? Or do you think they're not going to do anything this year?
Oh, they're going to do something. They're never going to quit.
What do we have to? Do we have to? We have to stop
In
them
other words,
from using machines.
she's asking whether it's worth the money, even if it's not necessarily good for her campaign immediately. Is it worth the money to go ahead and buy the subscription service so that later, when we investigate the fraud because her election was stolen from her, that we'll have the evidence?
Yeah.
That's what she's asking.
Yeah.
Is that a good
Am
idea?
I correct?
Is that a good idea?
It's your money.
How much? Is it a lot?
How many? You're running for Senate.
Yeah, but let me just. Well,
How
no, I
many-
would just do
How many
Westland.
people are in your district?
I would do just Westland. One of the cities that I'm in is the 10th largest city, Westland.
How many?
There's 60,000 voters.
Oh, I bet you it's cheap. I bet you it's several $100s.
Okay, I can do it.
But
Some-
talk to the USPS and find out.
All right, I'm on
And
that.
see, you have perfect cover because you're a candidate, and so you go. So nobody's going to suspect you're looking for fraud. I just need the list because I want to send my chasers and I want to know who's already returned. You're the perfect cover to do it too.
Janice and I were on it, but we didn't know what a chaser was, so we'll get on that.
Well, don't you want to know as a politician who ordered an absentee ballot?
Well, I'm knocking on
what
their
it's
doors,
worth,
and
right?
my dogs are tired.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I didn't know about this.
Why would you want to knock on a door where they've already returned their absentee ballot?
I
You're
love
wasting
that.
your time.
All right, my
So
dogs.
you
are
buy
good.
the
Post
subscription
office will
service.
Tell you that.
Oh yeah, it's a subscription service.
Did we know that? Did we know that?
I don't think we have that data. No, I'm not aware of having that.
But
Okay, the
thank
other thing
you.
you could do. The other
we
thing
have
you
the
could do-
national change of address. We have that.
NCOA.
Mhm.
Who's doing that for you?
Well, I'm working with the data team, and we have put together our information for each and every precinct statewide.
But my question to you is, who paid for that subscription? That's a subscription you have to pay for. You buy them in a million at a time.
EIF paid for it.
What's that? Yeah.
Our organization paid
You
for
guys
it?
pay, and there are all kinds of limits who have access to that. So somebody in your organization got a license to use that database.
We got.
I know because I have hired people to do this all across the country. I have teams. So if you said to me, "Would you run the NCUA against it?" I can do that for you, and I wouldn't charge you.
Okay.
But if you already have it, that's why I'm curious. Who's
I'm
doing
not
it for you, and
sure.
who do you have?
Well, we got a download. Dave Geyer
Okay.
is our database guy who has the national change of address for March of 2020.
Where did he get it?
I'm sorry.
Where did he get that?
I don't know.
Because I bet he got it from me.
I was
That's
gonna
where I was
say, I
going.
bet he does.
But
He
I'm
did,
curious
yeah.
how. I and that's just curious.
We will
making
find
sure I know.
out. We're here to help you
All
too.
right, we need to get to Diana
Okay.
because she has so graciously given us this
All right.
dinner, and
Okay,
she
but
freaks
but
out.
I have to do this right now. So
Well, why don't you head over there? and
you've
you can drive
shown
it?
me, and I'm trying to do justice to you because you've done a heck of a lot of work. It's good work too, and it confirms. I didn't see any surprises here.
Okay.
So, but it confirms what we kind of already know, and that's why now the next question is what's the next? What do you do from here? You've proven that the databases are The problem is the alternating thing, that could just be the normal data processing thing they do, right? It could just be it's propagation of an error because they don't work on it. They work on the static database. It could just be that. It doesn't prove any fraud, is my point.
Doesn't it prove that there's multiple databases and that there's cookies?
It proves but you could say there are two. He just proved there are two.
Right, that's right, yes.
Okay, so there are two databases, but if you were, I'm a data guy. I build machines, electron microscopes and laser scanners where I collect tens of millions of data points in a few seconds. And I know that while those data are coming in, I don't mess with them.
Well, they're coming in, yes.
Exactly. But
why is it changing after the election when nothing should be changing in those histories?
Because they
multiple times.
Because you have multiple people accessing those databases legally.
Yes.
In real time.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you allow them to work on that dynamic database, and then you have static databases, and they get swapped out.
I understand that, but shouldn't that be
Counties.
updated within a month or within a quarter or something? Isn't there a legal
It's
statute?
sloppy. It's not about law. It's about sloppy work.
Incompetence.
Well, it's a sloppy system. If I built nice machines and they collected data and handled it this poorly, I would be trying to fix the
You'd be
bugs in my
fired.
software.
Well, you'd be fired.
I'd be fixing the software. Well, what typically happens in imaging software is you're gathering the data and you're working on the previous set of data and you're using buffers, so you're processing this buffer while the data are coming in here, and then now you've finished your conclusions out of that. Now you're bringing data here, and now you're processing.
But it's the same
you
data.
Swap buffers
It's
because you don't work on a live buffer. It's a pattern. And the Department of Health, the Department of Motor Vehicles, Eric, and your counties and your Secretary of State are all working at once in a database, and that's a dynamic database.
So, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm an engineer as well.
Yes.
If the IRS can do this, why can't our election system? The IRS wouldn't allow this kind of a ever.
Because
they would lose billions of dollars in taxes.
which is why they don't run it this way.
Right. So why is it legal to run it the way that they're running it? I would assume there's got to be statutes that they're violating left and right about security for their system and what they're supposed to be doing and the timeline in which they're supposed to do it.
So, what you just said begs the question, which is, there are 1,000 things they're deliberately doing wrong
Yes.
to make everything opaque and cheatable.
But by proving that they're doing those things illegally, you say wrong, I would say some of that has to be illegal and not just incompetence.
Well, let me give you an
So
example.
can't you prove that then and say, look, they violated 27 different things. And yeah, maybe you don't think I proved fraud, but I've proven that they've done 27 things that are breaking the law.
Or do not comply with state. Breaking the law is a funny way to put it. They don't comply with your state regulations.
Why wouldn't you
it's
say
one thing. It just means that you could just say, well, that person quit, or
They're violating a law. You'd get a ticket down here if you did that here. 55, you'd get a ticket going 56. So because all they want is the money. So again, we call it violating a law in Michigan. So, and we call it fraud and we call it manipulation. But for some reason, people that are in legislative positions don't want to use those magic words.
Well, it's what it is this is what's happened is that they're cobbling together multiple systems, and it's not clean.
Right.
And it's not clean on purpose.
Sure, of course, that's obvious.
And the clerks are not competent technical people.
No,
They don't know. They follow their checklist as best they can, and they're lucky if they can even get most of their tasks done. And so they're frantically trying to do that.
Sure.
They don't have time to police the system.
I agree.
And they're going to lose their job if they spend their time trying to fix it when they've got 17 tasks they have to do. So, in other words, the system is deliberately cumbersome and opaque, such that the people who are outside the system can manipulate everything.
Yes, I agree with all of that. But if we can prove that that's happening, haven't we then proven that there's widespread corruption in the system and that's it?
Welcome to the crowd. We've proven that in 30 or 40 states already. So, but that doesn't get us anywhere, does it?
Even if we show the statutes that they violate?
Fine, go ahead.
that doesn't get us any. So where do we have to?
What? That's why I say, what's your end goal?
So the end goal would be, well, it would be nice to decertify and prove some of this stuff and fix the system. Right.
This won't decertify the election. This may allow you to decertify your current election systems for use in the future. You might say it doesn't prove that the 2020 election was fraudulent, for example, so you're not going to be able to say, well, we're going to decertify that. But you might be able to say, this system reeks. We don't think you should be using it in the future. And then the legislators will love that. And they'll say, you're absolutely right. This is beautiful evidence. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put a new bill in for $250 million, and we're going to buy this brand new state-of-the-art system and hire all these Dominion and ES&S people to come in and put in a brand new, because we're going to fix all of this.
They did that in 2018.
Is that what you want to happen?
They? We had that already in 2018. We had all the new election.
So that's why I'm saying, what's your end goal?
So
we have to design a strategy that meets your end goal.
One of the end goals would be a real-time viewing of the QVF file during elections.
One of the end goals is
that would be a remedy.
One of the end goals is to arrest Jocelyn Benson for treason.
I mean,
go ahead.
that's fun to say. It's fun to say.
We have that. We already have the real-time view. In Texas, we have 30 days of it, real-time by the hour.
During the election?
Yeah.
And that doesn't show.
And it shows all this.
And so what happens to that?
Tell me, nothing.
I think that's got to be part of the remedy, is a real-time viewing of the QVF. That's just one thing, right? And then you also we have to make laws that require certain things and have penalties for them. Because from what I've seen from the statutes, there's no penalties.
Right. And I'm being a little playful here with you.
No, good. No.
But
you've had more experience dealing with the politicians than we have.
Right. And the thing is I think what you've done is excellent work, and you've proven what we found in other places. Okay, and you've proven it magnificently. There's no question. Okay, to any person who knows data. The problem is it won't accomplish your end goal. If your end goal is to put in a new electronic system that you think is secure, it has to be all paper.
Yes.
It can't be electronic. And this is what I'm saying, and that's why I asked you, where are you going with this? This is part of it. But it's only a small part of it, and it's not fraud. If you call it fraud, you're going to lose.
They beat us up.
I will tell you, you will lose if you call that fraud. But if you show that this means your system is incorrigible and too easy to corrupt and a mess, and here's evidence of all these problems, then they're just going to say to you, we agree, we're going to spend $250 million for a new system. And I don't think that's what you want either.